This is the Run Recap.
But then what do we talk?
Well,
We haven't talked in a while.
Oh, I know. We have so much to talk about, or nothing, as we do. We have a lot to talk about, but then also we'll probably not talk about any of that stuff and just bullshit for an hour.
This is what we do.
That's what we do. But you were in Cherry Picker's Trot recently, so that's
I
something to talk
did run
about.
Cherry Picker's Trot. Yeah, it was super hot out, and
Yeah.
yeah,
What the temperature end up being?
it was 100 when I parked. So I think it lowered down from there. I think it got into the mid 90s before we started.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
yeah, it was I expected to be brutal. I did drink a ton of water all day long and then stopped drinking around like 5 o'clock. And the race
Yeah.
starts at 7. And so yeah, no, it ended up working out really good though. So I actually I had a bunch of friends there and we all basically said the same thing, like it's really hot. I don't know what to expect. I'm gonna not faint. That's the goal of like, let's just survive the thing. I want to be running at the end. And so, anyway, so I did that same thing. Of like, I'm just gonna take off pretty comfortable and just to stay comfortable. And
Yeah.
what ended up happening wonderfully, well, I mean, it's a stupid thing of like, I did well because what I ended up doing is I warmed up for the first half hour or first half mile and then just felt wonderful because I like warmed up. I just ran like I think I ran like 8:30 pace for the first half mile
Yeah.
and then felt really good. I'm like, oh, I should go faster now because it feels great. And I just went faster. And I just kept going faster and faster. I took it easy on the big downhill on mile 3
Mm.
because sometimes full on sprinting down a hill can wear you out so much. So I purposely
Absolutely.
did not full on sprint. I was still going like 6 minute pace, but you can easily go sub 5 down that thing because it's really steep. If you let it go, it's
Yeah.
so steep. So anyway, I took it easy down that, but then I hit that last mile uphill and just felt fresh as can be. And
Yeah.
yeah, had the ability to push that thing pretty hard. So I ran 8 minute pace up the last mile, which is all uphill.
Well, yeah.
And
For clarity, this is a for anyone who doesn't know Champions Round. This is literally 1 mile uphill, not like a gradual incline. Like
yeah, I guess you should
it's a
back up.
legitimate hill.
I'm just so excited about how I finished that I skipped over the entire race. But yeah, to back up, first of all, Cherry Pickers Trot was a race started by my grandpa back in the late 70s, I believe. I don't know what year it actually started, but somewhere right around there.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know that you started it.
oh yeah, it was full on grandpa's race.
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah. And so, as and so we so anyway, we try to do it. It's kind of a tradition for my family anyway. But the funny thing about this race, though, is, it's up on Green Bluff. It's only 4 miles, where most people these days, big races tend to be longer races, right? Like half marathons,
Yeah.
marathons, all that. They bring the most crowd. So this is only a 4 mile race. It's also $10 to race. There's no medals, there's no chipping, there's nothing like that. So it's just, in real honesty, it gets started from a guy literally firing a shotgun. The pace car is a tractor that has an outhouse on the back. And
Yeah.
the joke is that after eating cherries and running, you're going to try and catch that outhouse because you're going to need it.
Yeah. Yep.
And so that's the unspoken joke that's there. But yeah, it is. I mean, everyone gets scared at the start line because it's really, you take off with an actual shotgun being shot. And so you do that, and then this is one of the hardest 4 mile road races you'll ever do. It's constant ups and downs.
Yeah.
And it finishes with the whole last mile. And actually, one of the biggest downs is extremely steep. And
Mhm.
so, especially for a road race, so you have to be careful how fast you run it. And then the last mile is all uphill, like no relief from it at all. It's not like it's steep, but it
Nothing.
is a
Yeah.
full mile of just uphill.
Yeah.
And so it's brutal. And it's in the evening at the end of July, which in Spokane, evening, end of July is always really hot. So this day, it was over 100 degrees that day. Again, when I parked at 6 o'clock, it was still 100 degrees in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And
Which means at 7 o'clock it was 99.
right, yeah, exactly. I mean,
At
it,
best.
it seemed like the edge had been taken off a little bit, but it was still
Okay.
darn hot. I was definitely
98 maybe.
I was sweating hard before running for sure, and I'm
Yeah.
wearing like no clothes. I had my 3-inch shorts
Right.
on and that's it, and I'm still
Yeah.
just sweating. And And the cool thing about this race, though, is the fastest runners around will show up to this thing.
Yeah.
So you have this, it's just this, little race in the middle of nowhere. And it is outside of Bloomsday, probably the most competitive race in Spokane. And
That's cool that it has still kept that up.
oh yeah, no, so all the Gonzaga kids there, all the high school kids are there. I think sometimes it brings out all the fast high school kids because it's only $10. And
Right. Wow.
yep.
Continue.
So yeah, so it's only $10, so it brings the high school kids out, and so you just get some really, really fast runners out there. The guy that won it averaged 5:20 pace.
Wow.
Yeah,
That is
again on a
flying.
hard run.
Jeez.
And so anyway, and I mean, as you know, like a lot of times on local races, I can place, I can do pretty good, and no, at this race, maybe I'm in the top 100. I'm not sure I'm in the top 100.
Wow.
And I guess even more straight, even considering Bloomsday, like I'm usually in the top 10% is pretty normal.
Yeah.
And yeah, and with this race, I think I'm in the top third, maybe.
Okay.
And there's people
That's
of
something.
course, there's still people come out and walk the whole thing too, so the whole
Right.
range, but I think there's about 300 people there, and I wouldn't be surprised if I got beat by 100 of them. So, and
Wow.
I ran a great race, so I was just
Yeah,
over
you ran
7-minute
well.
pace. Yeah, I ran 28 minutes, I think, and change, something like that, maybe 29 minutes. I don't remember
Yeah,
exactly.
not bad for 4 miles at all.
Yeah, something like that. I felt for how I was feeling in the heat and stuff. I thought that was a great race for me. And and yeah, and I cannot see the front of the race at any point.
Yeah.
So I can see the front guy for the first straightaway, and then it disappears.
Yeah.
So anyway, but it's pretty cool to go out there and do this little local race in the middle of nowhere, and running with some guys that are on the verge of pretty darn elite runners.
Yeah.
And I mean, geez, the Gonzaga guys, one of their guys made it to Olympic trials this year in the 10,000.
Yeah.
So
That's
there's
awesome.
some very
That's so
fast kids
fun.
there. Yeah, seriously.
It's
But
so
yeah.
fun that the legacy has kept up and that people still come out for that race,
Yeah.
just up by all the fruit farms up there.
Yeah. And I really thought with the 100-degree weather, like, okay, there should be less people there, but no, it was packed still. Yeah, it was a great event. And they run a great
The expectation of it's going to be hot is just it's just there, right?
yeah. And it is every year. I mean, we used to run it and go straight to Grandma and Grandpa's swimming pool and jump right in.
I know this year you didn't have that relief. I remember you saying you're trying to debate where's like a creek or a river or something I could get into quickly, but nothing was closer than your house.
Yeah, like Little Spokane
Right.
River, I guess. But like by then, I'd be
Yeah.
5 minutes from my house. I should just go home.
Yeah, go home, take a shower, you'll be fine.
But yeah, there's no rivers up on Green Bluff.
No,
Up
of course
on a
not.
plateau.
And you got an unintentional warm up mile in,
Yeah.
or half mile or whatever you consider. And
Well,
so
and having that kind of race too, where getting in position doesn't matter because it's a big, wide open road race. There's
Mhm.
basically 4 corners, right? Because it's just a
Yeah.
giant square up there. So it's not like
Right.
it hurts anything for you to be behind people. If I'm passing people for the first 2 miles, that doesn't hurt anything at all. I'm on the other side of the road running by myself still.
Yeah.
So there's no strategy to get out in front quick or trying to get with the people you're going to run with, like trail runs especially, to get that way, or Bloomsday where it's actually difficult to pass.
Yeah. Right.
No, it's easy to
Right.
pass, so actually it didn't hurt me at all to take a half a mile real slow and just relax and then work on getting there later. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty ideal actually for that race.
It blows me away how little warm ups people have prior to runs in general, but definitely races. I mean, I know you're running, you're doing elite, right? If you're one of the top guys, I'm sure they're all warming up prior, but you see the culture is not to warm up before a run.
What I
Race or
think, okay, so help me with this then. I think it's a distance runner thing. So
not.
obviously, like in high school before track meets, we would get in a group and we would go run and warm up. Like we would do that partly because we're supposed to. Someone just told us to do it, so we went and did it. So that was
Yeah.
a thing. But outside of that, distance runners in general just don't warm up. So like it does not happen. I'm sure it does on the elite level, but on anything below that, I sure don't see. You see the one weird guy doing some funny stretches over there.
Yeah.
The one
The
guy.
one
That's
weird
how we
guy
see
who's
it. Is
actually
the only
staying
guy
healthy.
actually doing the thing he's supposed to be doing,
Exactly.
and all the rest of them are just standing there. I mean, geez, like, or even like the yeah, the I ran a race in October. It's below freezing when we're starting. I'm just standing like this, shivering at the start line, waiting to go.
Yeah.
I'm not moving
Yeah.
at all. I'm not running. I'm
Yeah.
doing nothing. But I don't think sprinters have that as much. Although I guess you don't recreationally sprint as much, right? Like you are, but you know, there's no one out there doing that with you.
No one goes out and just like runs at 90% for just randomly
Right.
every 2 days, right?
Yeah.
So, but like, and it's funny though, because I know like recreationally, if you're going for runs, distance runs, you can treat the first, half mile as a warm up. Like,
Yeah.
that is a tactic.
Like
There
this one, I wasn't looking to try and get in a certain spot. Like I fit
Right.
perfect for this race the way I was running. I was just out and having fun. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't even trying to PR anything.
And there are specific warm-ups that are beneficial for preparing for a distance run, no matter what speed you're going at. Like some muscle activation, some light dynamic stretches that will be helpful. But if you just start at a slow pace, ease into it, get the body warm and comfortable, that's, worst case scenario, that's fine. That's enough. But the reality is, even for me, before I go run, and I'm getting a lot better at this. I'm actually warming up before my runs these days, but I will still just go and run. I'll use like from where I'm at, my typical run at work, where I'm at to where I usually start my run is like 250 meters. And so I'll jog over to the light that I usually have to wait at, and then I start my run across the street. Right?
Sure.
That's my warm up, right? Which then makes complete sense why my first mile off it is like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
And then you get a mile in, you're like, oh, okay, I feel good. Warm, I'm settling into my stride now, right?
Well, and I struggle with the warming up. I can underdo it or overdo it. Like sometimes the warm up ruins my run. Because I do it so infrequently, I don't know how much warming up to actually do at all. I have no clue what I should be doing. And
right, you just did a workout prior.
Right. So I go and jog for a little while, and then pretty soon, but then my jog starts to, because I haven't run yet, my jog starts to feel comfortable at too fast of a pace or too slow a pace where I'm just bouncing a little bit and like, I don't know that helps either. And, and then I'll do like interval sprints, I guess, to stretch out. I don't know what I'm doing. And so I do those things, and I've had, sometimes it's perfect. It does that. And, because like if I wanted to go, just try and PR a mile, I would definitely warm up for that. And when I do that, I go to the track and I run about 800 meters ahead of time. And, and I build up to my race pace and then back down. I build up to my race pace and then back down and get some long strides for about 2 laps. And that's my warm up. And I think it works well. It's what I would have done in high school for it.
Totally.
And,
that sounds like a great warm up. There's a couple little things you could add, but it's intentionally building up your body to prepare for exertion, right?
Sure.
For above 50% exertion. And
I feel that necessary when, especially if I'm going to go race pace a mile, is that, okay, in the first 3 steps, I'm getting right into that race pace. I do need to be ready to do that, or I'm going to fall apart a quarter mile in because, at 5:30 pace, a quarter mile at 5:30 pace is not fun. Like, that's really hard still.
Yes.
And so, but properly warmed up, you can feel like, I just went into that stride that I already prepared my body for a few minutes ago. But I only did for a couple steps, but it remembers what that was from a few minutes ago. But but going into a mile cold, but the same, but different when it's like, if my race pace is gonna be 7 minutes, 7-minute miles, I am not as worried about that. Like, I can just fall into that cold and just let myself warm up, and it doesn't feel as necessary.
Yeah, because that's still like natural pace. That's still like in the normal. Like I feel like these days with my consistency of running, my natural gait used to be about 6:30. Just like if I just go run and not pay attention to anything, go as comfortable, it's about 6:30 pace. And these days it's like 7. It's above 7. It's like 7:15, 7:10. It seems to be my comfortable, just relax into pace, which just kind of bums me out a little bit. But I just haven't been running very much, right? So of course it's going to decrease. But dude, the cool thing is since I've been so focused this summer on the sprints, I've been warming up a lot more intentionally before. Well, obviously before my track workouts, but before my normal runs. Just might go do my 3 miles or 4 miles, and the downside of that. So actually, my body is actually doing great with all my runs, but the downside is that I can't rely on that for when the runs go really poorly. Now it's just motivation and desire.
Right.
Because I've had like most of my runs lately have been just pulling teeth and like wanting to quit and stop or possibly stopping. And I can't point to like, oh, I'm just not in good shape, or I didn't warm up enough, or like whatever it is. Like, no, I did all the things right. I just don't want to do this.
Yeah. I think that what was I going to say about that? I forgot what I was going to say about that. Oh, I think that you do have a new kid in that.
Oh, yes. There's all of that. There's all of that.
When my kids were the age of your kids, a lot of my runs were miserable. Where like you're running, you're like, am I out of shape? And I wasn't out of shape. I was in great shape. But it was just more like the will to go on was just like, it doesn't exist. Like, this all feels stupid.
Yeah.
Everything hurts, but I know it doesn't actually. Like, it's all, but it's there. Yeah.
I did yesterday, day before, Monday, I did a work. I really needed to work out. And like I said, my running has just been so painful. And it was raining out, which typically I take advantage of the rain. So it doesn't, you'd be shocked. It doesn't rain here all that much.
No one believes you.
Especially when it's warm. And during the winter time, yes, it rains a lot. But like summertime when it's like it's decently warm, it doesn't rain that much. So it lasts like 6 years. So I like to take advantage of any rain. Running in the rain is just one of my favorite things in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really have the opportunity to go outside. But I wanted to just sweat a lot. So I did hop on a stair climber at 45 minutes on a fat burner setting. And every 5 minutes on the stairs, I would hop off and I would do 20 push-ups, 5 pull-ups. And then keep going. Just over and over and over. And it felt, I was like, by the end, every rep of a push-up wasn't like a drop of water of sweat. It was like a faucet. It was like pour on every single one. Yep. It was like so much sweat. But I think it's because like, exactly what you're talking about, like with the new kid and like the first year is just tough with kids.
Yeah. You're not sleeping much.
There's so much shifting in their schedules. And so like you might get into a rhythm of like kind of sleep and then you fall out of this and then you get a rhythm of kind of sleep and then fall out. And so I know I'm going through that right now. I remember when Lockwood was born first, I was what's the opposite of apprehensive? Optimistic about the sleeplessness, because like I can handle lack of sleep really well. I've done a lot. I can actually do that. Like I feel pretty confident. Like I can handle that. And I was right. I handled no sleep really well until almost to the day 6 months. At 6 months, then I'm like, I was at work and I was doing something. I'm like, why can't I form thoughts?
Right.
Not words. I can't form the thought leading to the word. I'm like, and so like that's when I realized, like, oh, this is what they're talking about. They're not talking about like the first month or weeks of a newborn. They're talking about the accumulative. So now it's like 2, almost 3 years of just sometimes fine sleep, but just inconsistent. And then the last 9 or 8 months of real inconsistent sleep. And like, it's just your body doesn't like it.
Yeah. What I've noticed
is terrible
is it's almost like it stores up. Here's what I don't know if this is accurate or not, and I'm with all the doctors that listen to this, they'll probably correct me. Feel free to write in, doctors, with your correction with any of this and message me. Always showing up in my DMs after these things, But
always.
But what I feel like happens here is you have like this store of I don't know, happy juice. Whatever
Yeah,
all the
I like
things
it.
are in your body, right, that you use in order for your brain to work quick and for your body to work fast and all that stuff. And you have this and you have this store of all these different things that you need for that to happen, and they're growing and growing and growing, and you develop those in your deep sleep, right? And so the more
Hmm.
sleep you have as they get there, and then you have this store there, and then you're like, okay, well, I have a night where I didn't sleep at all, and like, okay, well, it diminished because you didn't get to fill it up that night, right? And then it diminishes a
Yeah.
little more, and then, but again, like, yeah, 6 months of just sleep all over the place, not great. And then
Yeah.
you hit empty and all of a sudden like, okay, I don't have a will to live now. And everything feels stupid and everything in me feels like I need to exercise because I'm not moving either, but then I go out and
Yeah.
exercise and I get 2 miles in, I'm just excited. I get 2 miles in now, so all of a sudden I'm like, I don't care about anything anymore. I'm walking all the way home. And
Yeah.
so that starts to happen because it's just diminished down to nothing. And then you get a little bit of sleep and you're like, okay, I can handle this again. But you
Yeah.
haven't built that store back up over the course of a long period of time. And so it takes, now you're down to like, oh, you have a night of bad sleep and now it's empty again.
Yeah.
And you're like, you have a couple nights
Exactly.
of good sleep and you're just fine. Everything feels great. And then one night you're taken out again. And it's like, and then it takes, for me, it took years to build this back up to where that just doesn't happen to me now. But
Yeah.
my youngest is now 4. So it's been a long time where I
Right.
might have a bad night once every 2 weeks or something now. But
Yeah.
and so that doesn't diminish me. It's like, oh yeah, I'm a little more tired the next day and that's it. But
Yeah.
finally out of that where I'm just depleting to zero every time I don't sleep well.
Yeah. Luckily, I haven't hit the phase of like the will to not work out isn't really there. It's
Hmm.
just or go for a run at least. Like I'm still motivated and excited to like do my track days and like try to get a run outside when I can.
Yeah.
But it's just that it feels so terrible when I do it.
Yeah.
My
My
track day out last Saturday was it I mean it was okay. I it was no, it was fine. There's
hmm
nothing notable about it. It was fine. When I checked my times afterwards on what I was doing, I'm like, yeah, that was real slow. That
Sure.
was not fast at all. Actually, I take it back. I did do one. I ended with a 100, 200, 300, 400 intervals at like a hard stride, like 75%. So not
Hmm.
crazy with a 100-meter jog in between. So
Hmm.
no long rest, just jog
Hmm.
100, hit the next one. Um, which is in and itself is a hard workout, especially after everything I did prior. I didn't do the 400.
Hmm.
I got to 3 and I'm like, that's good.
Yeah.
that's that's enough. I don't need to continue on this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go home. So
And I
I
think
guess I kind of
that's
failed on that one.
well, that's closer to what I remember feeling. Like I'd go for a run and again, I'd be excited to go. I would go. It's a beautiful day out, like it's just right. And again, for like 2 miles, I'd feel great. And then
Yeah,
I'm like, no, I don't want to. I just don't want
yeah,
to.
yep,
That's all.
yeah. That's what all of my runs, my long runs, my long runs,
Right.
3 miles. They've all been that way lately. It's just how I need to do it. One, because it's sunny, and I
Right.
like being in the sun.
Hmm.
And I have the opportunities. I go and I do it, and then this every step is just brutal. But I'm down here, and I have to come back.
Right.
So can I convince myself to not stop on the way back? And
Hmm.
that's just the battle every day, every time.
Yeah.
And then what is interesting though is during those runs that I am also simultaneously as recognizing that it's awful and I don't want to do it and how do I not stop. I'm also thinking about like, ooh, but what route would I do if I were to actually train to get under 50 minutes on Bloomsday? So
Mm-hmm.
how do I start that training thinking about that and like what route I would take to make sure I'm getting some good hills in, getting the right mileage,
Right.
how frequently I would do that trail while thinking about how soon can I stop this run
Yeah.
because I'm 2 miles in and it's the worst thing I've ever done.
Right. Man, and that is a tempting goal to go for the next Bloomsday. I'm not sure I'm ready to do that, but I'm really
I
tempted.
it's tempting. I don't think I logistically have the time to
Yeah.
put the effort into it.
What I am going to do, because I do it every year, I am
Right.
going to I'm aiming at a 1:30 half marathon in
Okay.
October. And
Okay.
so I have two halves that I'm planning. I don't know if the first one's going to work logistically. There's a half marathon I just found that runs from um, like Electric City area to Cooley
Okay.
Dam. And
Oh,
so
okay.
Banks Lake down, I think it runs across the dam also. And
Yeah.
so it just looks super
That'd be
fun. So
fun.
I ran across it and like, oh, that looks like a blast. And
Yes.
anyway, and just a cool like that deserty area out there is really cool. You run along the river the whole time and the lake and stuff. And
Yeah.
so anyway, it just looks really fun. So that's like September 21st. I think I'm going to do that one. That would be a hard one to get that kind of time. But
Yeah.
because it's a little bit up and down. Actually, the first 2 miles are uphill. Pretty. It's got a couple
Mm,
100 feet of elevation. Not a ton, but it's not an easy. It
yeah.
is not super hard, but it's not an easy one either. And so
Right.
I don't know if I can run sub 7 for that at all.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, that one. But then in October, I do have the one I do every year out in the um, the Jackass one that's
Right. Right.
slightly downhill. That'd be the one to aim for it on. So
Exactly. Yeah.
and so
When's the Boulevard race? It's okay.
I think it's in September. I don't remember exactly.
Listen.
Yeah, I'll have to find that. I'll send you a link to it.
Yeah. If you do that one, let me know. Or maybe I'll come over and do that one. 'Cause that sounds my style.
They changed the course this year. I think there's some stuff
Uh-oh.
downtown where they couldn't shut down downtown because of like some
Mm,
construction or something like that. So the course had to change this year, and I'll send it to you. But it's a bit disappointing as far as where
oh.
it's an actual out and back. So you have to
Oh.
turn around, and I hate when you have to,
Oh.
yeah, instead of a loop and then coming back, no, you actually have to like
Yeah.
spin around a thing and come straight back. And in a 4 mile race, to have to like stop, turn around, and come straight back,
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of that. So I'm not sure I'm going to do
No,
it. I
I see what
probably
you're
will
saying.
just because it's a cheap race anyway.
Yeah.
So, because again, I think it was $35 and you got a $35 gift card and you got a shirt and
It's
like, it's like a
right.
free race and they give you a shirt.
You're making
So
money.
yeah, exactly. So I might do it anyway just for the sake of that. But
Okay. Well, yeah, in
yeah,
that
but it's
case, I don't really care.
yeah. Anyway, I'll look as it gets closer and see if that holds up. I'll keep you in a loop. But
Yeah.
yeah, the current course looks like I don't know if I really want to spend my day that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I feel that. Getting what you said, hour 30, under an hour 30 for a half.
yeah,
Yeah, that'd be quite.
yeah, it's sub
Um,
7.
I think my plan at the moment is I'll do Bloomsday next year, but we'll see. I'll probably spend like 2 months actually training for it, and
Yeah, it
then
depends how the winter goes, right? Like if you can
yeah,
train consistent through the winter, you can be real fast for Bloomsday.
yeah,
But it all depends.
and then and for me, runs are so visual. It's like knowing visually the milestones that are
Mhm.
going to be difficult
Yeah,
and preparing in my head for those. So that'll be helpful because I didn't remember any of the course from
right.
20
From being a
years
small child.
prior, from being 9 or
Yeah,
however old I
exactly.
was last time I did it. Um, yeah, it's funny. I was thinking on my run last week about we've talked about how like you have had these real important epiphanies or life changing thoughts or conversations with yourself during your run, right? All the time, and like
Right.
they often don't amount to anything or they're nonsense or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember
They're
one
always
year,
profound in the middle of the run, though. Always profound.
one year, and this actually was a very positive thing, and that I can't recall unfortunately, but it lasted longer than the run, and I was like, I'm very proud of the thoughts. I I was able to separate a stride into 5 separate categories of,
Okay.
of progression, and I don't remember what any of them were. And it was, and it's possible I even wrote it down somewhere. So I got to look through my notes to see if I could find what it did. Because I was like thinking through runs and different people's dates and strides and stride lengths and force production on your pushing leg, and I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. You go from here to here to here to here, or something. I don't remember now, but it
Uh-huh.
was like it was profound. I'm like, this is awesome. I really like this standard progression. This is how every runner should hit, depending upon the speed you're going or something.
Sure.
I don't know. And I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like, man, I can't. That was so profound. I cannot remember it to save my life.
Yeah.
but it was so good during the moment, during the run. So that was one that I thought was like it was good, even though I still can't remember it.
Got to keep a notepad on you, right?
while I'm running, gotta scroll my notes.
Because you know, as soon as you stop, like it's gonna disappear on you a little bit.
I have thought about that actually. Like if you had a Neuralink type of a situation where you could like
Mhm.
make mental notes, but make them permanent, like actually record a mental thought.
Well, and you can
You know?
almost voice memo the thing. Actually, that's what it's been driving me crazy for a while. And maybe I'm just doing it wrong. Like maybe I'm old and don't know how to use a phone. But I feel like so I can talk to my phone, which is an Android. I'm not going to say the words you have to say in order to activate it to tell it to do things, but you can say that thing,
Right.
same as with
You
Apple, right?
can.
So you
Yeah.
can say the thing out loud and tell it to do something, and it'll do something, right?
Yeah.
I also know that works with my headset on, where I can
Mhm.
say the words and then tell it to do something, and it'll do something. While
Yeah.
I run, it doesn't work.
Oh,
It
really?
won't do it. And I don't know why, because you should be able to then just talk to your device and
Right.
say voice memo, right? And then you can just talk to it and it should record everything you just said. And then you should be
Yeah.
able to tell it just, oh, turn my music back on, and turns the music back on, right? Like all
Yeah.
that works in a run that doesn't work. And I don't know what maybe I don't know how to use my, and of course I'm only trying it while running. So I'm not like getting my phone out to look at it to see what my voice is causing to activate, because I'm in the middle. I'm not
Right.
going to go take my phone out. I'm in the middle of running, you know.
No.
I just try to say
Exactly.
things and I look like an idiot on the side of the road talking to myself, right? And then talking louder and louder at the thing, but nothing's happening.
This schizophrenic in running gear. What's he doing out here?
Right?
Yeah, I don't know. I wish. I wish there was a better avenue, but oftentimes I don't want to. I'm too tired to actually talk in my run,
Sure.
so I don't want to actually say anything. But
Yeah, it's
I
true,
want
'cause
to
you don't-
record the thought.
You don't do any LSD runs. Like,
I don't do LSD runs.
no, you are like, it's 3 miles race pace.
Yeah.
Always.
Well, yeah, always. I don't have the time to go anything other. If it takes longer than a half hour, then what's the point? What am I
Maybe
doing?
some of those half hours should be at a talking pace instead of a like all out pace.
they're talking pace if there's someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Then I can make it happen. I'm also not a. It's ironic though that I say this because I'm not a nose breather when I run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me neither.
I can't. Oh, I mean, I think I do. It's an everything. It's a nose and mouth and breath. But
I breathe out of my
can't.
nose to relax for about the first half mile of a race most of the time. But it's
Yeah.
that's not an intentional thing. That's just a calming. That's all that
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
But it's not
yeah.
like, oh, this breathing's better. That's not the point for me. It's just like, this just keeps me in a calm place is where I'm trying to be just for the beginning.
Yeah, I found that I'm just a slightly stuffed up enough that often enough that I can't keep my mouth closed.
Right.
It just then I can't breathe now. like I'm like chunk in my nose constantly.
I'll hear a podcast about the benefits of breathing differently and all these things.
Yeah.
And while listening to it, I'm very excited to go try it. And then I start running and I like try it for about like 5 steps. I'm like, nah, I'm just going to run. Like I'm not buying into it. On the other hand, really intelligent people that really know what they're talking about
Mhm.
do recommend this and have all these things that will help, and they have all the data for why it works. So I'm sure
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's stupid, but like, but you look at
Well,
like, obviously if Laird Hamilton says this thing works, it works. The guy knows what he's
Mhm.
talking about. So
he does, yeah.
you know.
I've had multiple clients and friends ask me. I remember Brian and I used to do workouts, track workouts years ago, and he was like, well, what's the best breathing technique? What should I be doing right here? Should I be doing this? He threw out, I was reading about this and this.
Yeah.
Into your nose, like mouth to mic. Dude, we're doing sprints. You breathe in and breathe out.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Get the
As
air
much
in,
air
get
as
the air out.
much as you can get.
However you have to do it, doesn't matter. Try
Yeah.
to slow your heart rate and not pass out on me. And like I said, like that's how I feel about breathing patterns for the most part. Like,
Oh, full on, yeah. My
sometimes different situations call for specifics, but like running, especially like weightlifting, there's some specifics. But like running, like just get it in, get it out. Who cares?
So this
Doesn't
hits the whole thing with running that was always around running, and that I know you and I have both been on different ends of the journey of what this is. But as far as what constitutes a real runner, and of course,
Oh yeah.
it's kind of like gatekeeping and skateboarding too. What constitutes a real skateboarder? You got a piece of wood and four wheels, you're skateboarding.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
it. And yeah, they come in all kinds of sizes and shapes and stuff like that. Do all kinds of things. You're skateboarding. You got a piece of wood.
Yes.
You got four wheels, and you're standing
You
up.
good.
You're skateboarding. You know.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then same thing with running. You get out there. If you're running, you're running. That's it.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
walking? Okay. Well, if you're walking, you're walking. If you're not walking and you're moving a little quicker than, or you have to be moving quicker than walking. The difference is if you're running, then there's a bounce to it, right?
There's a
So
bounce.
if there's a bounce to it, you're running.
Yeah.
If there's no bounce and you're still moving, you're walking. And that's what that is. But there's the whole, like, what's a real runner, right? There's that whole thing. And definitely, I know Dad drilled into my head at a young age, no, we run, we don't jog. We're not joggers, we're runners.
Yeah.
And I remember that difference being right around 7:30 pace was what was I know, and so I had that insecurity when I was younger of like, especially if a car's driving by, they're going to see you better be going 7:30 pace. Otherwise they're going to be like, oh, that guy's a jogger. As if anyone's even thinking about what we're driving by, right? No one cares. Like,
well, especially now,
because if they did, it
because
doesn't matter. I don't know who they are.
no, they don't care. I assume that's born out of back in the 70s when running started to get more and more popular. But you had the runners, the competitive runners,
Yep,
who were quote unquote runners, and then you had the joggers who were just like they were doing the new popular thing where you go. It's the Anchorman joke,
exactly.
Like he's going jogging, or might be a soft J,
Yeah. Apparently, you just run
for an extended period. But I assume that mindset was built from that.
That's my guess too. Yeah.
Because I didn't get that as much. Dad must have drilled that into you more than he drilled it into me.
And maybe I took it way harder than maybe he wasn't drilling it into me, and it's just like my own thing that then I took that way more, yeah. And then what's funny, of course, is at different phases of that of where do I consider it okay for me, and so definitely like, yeah, in high school, below 7:30 pace was like, basically walking, now it's like, no, I feel pretty fast 7:30 pace, like that feels awesome, and anything in there, and then all the way around to like, no, it's all the same difference really. But the point that I'm bringing up though is I just got insulted by our uncle Kelly more than I think I ever have.
Okay,
so
I'm excited for this.
So I was, at Grandpa's house, and we're and we were talking, and Kelly goes, "Man, you're looking really fit right now and stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, I got real skinny. I've just been running a whole bunch." He's like, "That's right. Yeah, you have been running a little bit, honey. Yeah, haven't you?" Like, yeah. He's like, "Yeah, it wasn't, you never really were much of a runner. I guess you did a little bit in high school." I'm like, well, like, I kind of started when I was 8, but like quite a bit. But okay.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Right? Like, oh man, I just got called not a real runner.
Not a real runner.
Not a real runner. Yeah, I ran a little bit in high school.
By one of Washington State's Hall of Fame track coaches.
Yeah. In all fairness, though, I was 20th on the team. I was just another guy out there, in the back of the bus. So
on one of the top cross country teams in the country.
Right. But you got to and then think about though. It's also that range, right? Like, what caliber runner are we talking about? No, I've never been as fast as Kelly was.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. And he also, he took his team to state lots and lots of times. They won state lots of times, didn't they?
For track. Yeah. I don't know about for track. The men. See, and then here's where I get into it, because when I did track for North Central High School, when Kelly was coaching, we were a 4A. We were in the 4A category. Right when I left, they were 3A, and then they won a ton of titles, state championships. And in my head, there's a hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, well, yeah, but it's 3A.
Right.
So who cares?
It doesn't count.
It doesn't. And I like a ton of the schools got downgraded around that time. Like a ton of schools in the States, like there isn't a hierarchy. But in my head, like, well, but me, the 4A, and Meade
Hmm.
is, a bigger school and they have a better reputation and all this stuff. And like now North Central's down to a 3A. It's like, well, they're not,
Now, of course, you would.
they're not as good.
Now a
But
bunch of them are 3. Well, and then when I was in school, Meade was big enough to be a 4A, but there was only one other 4A school in the state. So they didn't do a 4A
mhm,
competitions. So they just counted all of us as 3A, even though we were technically big enough. But you do
yeah,
have an
yeah,
unfair advantage when you have a much larger talent pool. That's for sure.
yeah. I was, man, uh, my favorite moment from track in high school, uh, I got my senior year, I got beat at state. I got second.
Hmm.
And and it was like, I didn't remember exactly what happened. It was a strategy thing. So we both hit 15 feet. We were the last two then, and once you get to like very few people in competition, you can decide what increment you want to go up. So uh, he wanted to go to 15.6, which is a natural progression, 6 up. I wanted to go to 15.3, so I wanted to go just 3 inches up. Because I hadn't done any higher than, I think I'd done 15.3 once before, but I had never done 15.6. So I wanted to
Sure.
do a height I knew I could do. And so
And some of the strategy in pole vaulting is just making a height because there's always flukes where people just suddenly don't make a
exactly,
height that they can do. And so getting
exactly,
a height under your belt that's higher, well, if that
yes,
person then wants to go 15.6 and they miss all 3, you got
right,
it then.
exactly. And so
Hmm.
he skipped. So he didn't go to the next height. He skipped the
Hmm.
height. So I made 15.3. I missed 15.6 all 3 attempts. He made 15.6 on his third attempt. So he won
Hmm.
state, right?
Hmm.
But what made me happy is, and then so that was 4A. The 3A competition, the winner got 15.6 as well,
Hmm.
or something. But at the after state, I don't know if they still do this, but they used to do this the meet of champions, which was between Washington and Oregon. So
Oh, cool.
across the board, 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, all of the categories, top champions compete. So I was
Hmm.
competing with everybody, and I beat everybody.
Nice.
And so I was like, it was like such a, I was so stoked in a moment of redemption. You got me there, but this is kind of better,
We're gonna
right?
count this one.
This one's more important, right? Isn't it? I mean, no one knows about this meat, but isn't this one more important?
Right.
Even though I have to describe what this meat is to
Just
everybody I
because no
tell it
one knows.
to, it must be more important though.
Yeah, well, it was on that day.
It was on that day. Um, anyway, yeah, I'm sidetracked there. Um, oh yeah, but Kelly calling you not a real runner. That's got to be a little bit of a hit because like you ran a lot, and actually when we were in Puyallup, you were number 5 on the cross country team, or 3 or 2, something like that,
It
right?
depended on the day, somewhere between third and fifth. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So like
And I ran worse over there too. It was 30 seconds
right.
slower.
So the only reason that you weren't like more recognized, well, one, you were a freshman
Yeah.
over here, and you're on
Sophomore.
sophomore,
Yeah.
and you're on the top team in the state, right? So
Right.
just like you naturally just a little bit lower, but then you go any other team in the state, you're like, oh no, you're one of the top guys,
Right.
everywhere. And then I'm telling you, like oh yeah, I guess you kind of ran a little bit.
Yeah, okay, you kind of ran a
Uh,
little bit. Like, I think I'm the only grandkid that actually really ran. You know, like
yeah, I'm trying to think. You and Daniel. I mean, Daniel ran all 4 years of high school. Um,
Daniel's best thing post high school that he ever wrote. He wrote this on Facebook a little while ago, years ago. But he
yeah,
said
yeah.
he sees people run around outside, and he feels like someone needs to go up and let him know that they're no longer in high school and their dad's not making them do this anymore.
Yeah, I'm sure that was why he did it.
Oh yeah,
Um,
it's 100%. That was what, and then Josh did the same thing. Like, yeah, he went and did it,
yep.
and I think it's kind of like I really, it's important to me for all my boys to wrestle. You know, I want them
Hmm.
to have it. They don't need to like it. They don't need to do it for long term. I want you to have that experience because I think there's some important things to learn in life. And so
Yeah.
I have that. I think Kelly for the same thing is like, no, you have to do cross country. For me, I'm sure for him that was such a valuable thing that he learned in his life. He wants his kids to at least
Hmm.
have some semblance or have the opportunity to
Yeah.
win to learn those same things. And
Yeah.
so, nope, you got to at least do it a little bit. And and so I think that was the case for for Kelly's kids. Was that where you got to do
Especially,
it, but they didn't really like
yeah.
it.
No, especially coming from like a track family. But even
Yeah.
Josh, he had his hand in pole vaulting and like he kind of did some events. I wouldn't say as far as my memory is, he didn't run as much as Daniel did. And so
Yeah.
between, I don't, did Brian run very much?
Nope. He was great at football. He was a
And
good football
tennis.
player and a real good
He
tennis
played
player.
tennis too.
Mm-hmm. He's real good.
Yeah. So as far as runners go, as far as distance runners go,
Yeah, that was just me.
it was just you. That's hilarious. I'm sorry, man. I mean, because yeah, I was not in that type of a category. I was not a runner back
Yeah.
then.
You were more exciting though.
Sprinter.
You went to state. You went all.
I did all the stuff, yeah, but it was different. Yeah, that's funny. It's amazing how things after how many years ago was that, and they still like can sting a little bit. Like bummer.
Yeah, and not seriously. I mean, obviously, like I don't know. I don't expect Kelly to keep track of my running or anything like that. You know, so it's not.
But
it was.
But there's like a 1% little like right.
Or if anything, at least like take it that way for the comedic effect. You know.
There we go.
Like, oof.
Yeah. You got me. You got me on
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah. But I also then
you-
he and I were joking about though that like we were also talking about because Josh also has been running like really long mileage. So because his wife does ultras and stuff, so he's gotten into that too.
Oh,
And
okay.
he's also like skinning up mountains and he's doing a bunch of mountaineering. So, man, Josh has gotten super fit.
Yeah.
But then I was saying that to him, and then Kelly's like, well, super fit the way you and I just described it, right? For us as a runner family, super fit means just real skinny.
That's true.
Right? Because
Exactly.
like he
Well,
noticed
it's-
that because like I think I'm at the smallest I've been. I think 2 years ago I was a little smaller than this, but like
Yeah.
I haven't been lifting at all. I've just been running. I up my mileage a little bit, so I got real teeny real quick.
Yeah.
And of course around our family is like, oh man, you look like you're in great shape. Well, just because like I'm just super small.
And it's funny because even for me, having been in the working with the training for so long and been more in the physique and aesthetics part of personal training, it's like I see I do have a little bit of a different perspective of like seeing like size and muscle growth and muscle development, muscle definition, all that stuff. But when I really look at myself and how I feel I look the best, it's all just about being smaller. Like just, but I mean, if you
To a
want to
degree.
categorize it that way, to a degree,
Yeah.
but it's about because being smaller means you can see things better.
Sure.
So I need to get just not thinner, but I just need to get the body fat away and
Mhm.
get leaner. Leaner is a better word. I need
Right.
to get as lean as possible because then you can see the muscles better, and then my self worth goes up, right?
Well, and that's so silly that's so true. Is like, yeah, it's just it's not healthy,
No, it's
Like-
not. It's not.
Like your body just does shape into whatever you're asking it to do all the time, right? And so
Yep.
there are times that it carries a little more of a layer of fat because the things you've been asking it to do all the time requires a little more layer of fat. I mean, if you're being really active, right? It'll
Yep.
carry a little more fat than that if you decide to just not be active, right? But that's
Yeah,
not the case here where it's like, no, I'm being active. I'm just changing my activity. And then my activity then, it might require that a little bit more.
yeah.
And so,
Right.
so anyway, so yeah, it might require a little bit more fat on there or whatever, but it's just adjusting to be the best it can for what you're asking it to do.
Right, and yeah, you might need a little more fat, and then however you're eating will also affect whatever fat content your body wants to hold during that time.
Mhm.
But yeah, especially for me, man, I always my goal. People must be judging me more because I'm not as lean and I don't have as much definition as I think I should have, even though I have my shirt on the whole time and I'm only talking about my abs.
Right.
And you can't see those. But if I look down, I see a little shape that I don't like, and so people must be judging me on that.
Well, do you remember, I mean, maybe you didn't feel this, but I remember being in my early 20s. So of course I'm just real skinny. We were super active and stuff. And so, it was in great shape because early 20s shape, it's way different than 40s shape. So,
Hmm.
but I remember sitting in the car and like you can see stomach rolls. And I was like, oh,
Yep.
well, that's kind of embarrassing. Like, of course you do. You're sitting.
You're
That's how
sitting.
skin has to move when you sit. You bent this direction. Where we have skin, this thing that has to move around to where we're going. You
Yeah.
have to have rolls at your stomach when you sit.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking like, oh man, I look horrible right now. I'm like, that
Yeah.
is what a terrible way to look at your body, right? And how much that has affected all of it. And I know
Yeah.
people deal with it way worse than you and I do.
Oh, of
There's
course.
all
Because
kinds of things people deal with that, but it's just so
yeah.
stupid that it's even affected us in that same way. Like that's just dumb.
Yeah. And we're talking about it like this, but I wager that neither of us, it doesn't impact neither of us that hard, right? Like, yes, it's
Yeah.
on the mind, at least for me, it's on my mind. It is something I think about way more than I should, but also whatever. Like, I'm not obsessing about it like that. It doesn't actually, I joke about it actually affecting my self-worth. It does not affect my self-worth at all.
It hits in like an irritating way and then an interesting way. So it's both of
Right.
those where it's like,
Exactly. Yeah.
I wish I didn't really want to look quite like this, or like I've been working on that. That's weird. That's not doing the thing that I wanted it to. It might be that kind of thing, or some other times it's just interesting to just see. Oh, let's see what this does to it. Let's see what this does. Oh, does this different activity, does this different food then make this thing adjust? And it's kind of like a science
Yeah.
experiment for me most of the time. It's just a curiosity more than anything. Luckily, but yeah, it doesn't affect. It can affect self-worth to a small degree, but I don't want to take that away from people that really deal with that because
But no,
that's
of
not at
course not.
all what I'm saying at all. To a small degree, where like I see a picture, I'm like, I would have liked to look a little fitter. I should have sucked in before I took that picture. You know?
Well, yeah, where it gets me, I think the real reason why it actually bothers me when it's not looking the way I want it to look is purely because when you get down to it, it means my discipline isn't very good.
Sure.
It's a direct sign. No, if I work out the way I know I should and I eat the way I know my body likes, I will look this way.
Hmm.
I mean, within a variation or within a spectrum. But if I don't look that way, almost guaranteed it's because my discipline in these areas is not good. And
Yeah.
so then it's like not the self worth of how I look. It's just like an indication of like, well, I'm not doing these things I should be
Yeah.
doing,
You're not doing the work.
and I'm
And
slacking,
and
and I'm
luckily,
eating garbage, and
I know you and I both, I think we understand our diets and how foods affect us and how different exercise affect us. It's so consistent that we do know we can just do this thing. Oh, I'm obviously not doing that thing, and it's so obvious. Where
yeah,
many people deal with, it's not that obvious. You got something else causing inflammation, you got all these different
yeah,
things affecting all that. And I know for a lot of people, it's not that. And we're kind of lucky that we do have, as much as we've complained about this before on our podcast, but as far as like, oh, the genetics or whatever, it's like, I don't know,
yeah,
it could be, of course, but some
yeah,
of it
a
for
little bit.
sure. Yeah, but some of it for sure is just that like, hey, it's really consistent as far as what food affects me how. And I know you do the same thing. So it's an
Yeah,
easy equation, and for a lot of people it's not an easy equation at all to figure that
yeah.
out. But for you,
It's
actually I know for you specifically, if you just cut back on the teriyaki chicken, you shred right up.
oh, I would love that teriyaki chicken. Yeah,
When you
it's
first moved over there, you ate so much teriyaki chicken.
dude, because it's good here, and in
Oh,
Spokane,
it's amazing. And
there's
it's
not any
everywhere.
teriyaki chicken. Yeah.
Yep.
Uh, yeah. For me, it's like I generally feel bad for people that have like um a damaged metabolism or a thyroid issue or a slew of other problems that can affect how you gain or lose weight or retain water or whatever. But
Yeah.
I also feel bad for the people who think they know what the healthy for their body thing is, and they're just wrong,
Yeah.
or they just don't know enough about it,
Hmm.
and so they think they're doing the healthy thing or the thing that is going to be helpful for their goals, and it's just not right. It's just they haven't
Yep.
been educated enough. They haven't talked to somebody who knows what they're talking about enough, and so they're because like you can eat healthy, quote unquote healthy, and not achieve your goal from a weight loss or weight gain perspective because healthy eating isn't the end of the game. Like, you need
Mhm.
to understand within healthy foods, natural foods, how different macros and calories and timing affect what you're trying to accomplish, right? And when,
And how
yeah,
those
when,
things line up for your specific body, as we find
yeah,
all the
exactly.
time. Like there are things I can eat, and Christy and I could both eat the same thing. It's gonna affect her drastically different than me.
Oh,
You
of
know?
course, yeah. Well, then
Yeah,
you have female hormones involved, and that's a whole
right.
different story.
And
Um,
can we just take pause here real quick just to say I'm sorry to all the females out there with what you guys go
uh,
through because
oh yeah, it's just
because
terrible.
yeah, it's like it's constantly different,
Yeah,
throughout that month. Like every month, every week, a different
yeah,
thing affects you a different way. And I can't even imagine trying to keep on top of that to have
yeah,
any kind of consistency. On top of that, even if you did dial that in, it's still not consistent. It would drive me absolutely crazy. Like the fact that we get to, oh, yeah, today's a what is it? Is it Wednesday? It's a Wednesday today,
yeah,
right? So if I eat
yeah.
today,
So it's a
if I eat just like I did on a Tuesday or last week Wednesday, it's going to do the exact same thing for me because my body responds exactly the same way every single time year
yeah,
round. It never changes. This exercise even affects me in this way
yeah,
100% of the time. And
yeah,
women don't go through that at all, and I feel terrible for them. I don't know how they do it. Like I don't,
yeah, yeah.
I
It's tough. And then you
I'd be tempted to give up.
throw babies in there,
What do
and
you,
it
not even
messes it up
counting
even
that?
worse, right? Yeah,
Yeah, that would be so tough, especially with, as we were just talking about, how we are picky about our bodies and we like to mess with that stuff and to dial it in and stuff like that. And like
yeah,
that feels like a near impossible equation for women. you
yeah,
know and I'm
yeah.
sure many women, even if you didn't have all of the crap that happened to their brains in the 2000s when everything was just like, oh yeah, you're supposed to see all of your bones for you to look,
Right.
to
Yeah,
look
look,
healthy and stuff. Even if you take that out of the equation and someone just likes to make their body look the way they want it to, the way we're just talking
yeah,
about, that's still horrible.
yeah.
And man, I saw a reel the other day about, do you remember when Britney had been gone for a little bit and then came back at the VMAs and wore kind of a skimpy outfit because like that's what they all did, and everyone just blasted her for letting her whole body go and being fat. Do you remember
I
that at
don't.
all?
I'm vaguely, not really though.
No, well, a huge Britney fan here. So,
Yeah, clearly.
no. But I remember that happening, and it just being like, "That's ridiculous," because again, a guy's perspective is not the same way. Where it's like, "Yeah, she looks
Right.
fine." Like, what
Yeah.
are we talking about? And then, but that someone posted that the other day and like re-showed it, and the lady's
Yeah.
point was basically, she's like, "I would kill for that body right there," and
Of course.
everyone just ripped her apart for
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
It was so like, yeah. She looks great. Yeah, she's not like just shredded. She looks
Yeah.
great though. She looks like a
She
good
wasn't.
fit person where I can't see all of her abs. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good fit person still. Like no, there's nothing wrong here. This is just a good
Yeah.
healthy person.
Yeah,
It's
man.
ridiculous.
The stigma around what you should look like is really bad, and then we have all the social media stuff right now that makes
Yep.
it even worse, right? And
Yep.
you see all the influencers that are picking the pictures, then you think that they. Well, here's the problem though. Okay, another messed up part of how I looked at things. You see, like, an influencer posts a picture and they look all shredded and perfect, the
Mhm.
lighting's perfect and all this stuff, and then people will say and maybe comments that, like, you can't be expected to look like that all the time, right?
Mhm.
And I know the ins and outs of that, and I know how the body shifts and changes, and yeah, I'm like, yeah, but I can. But I know, yes, you shouldn't expect them to. People should not expect to look like that all the time. That's terrible for your psyche. But I can. But no, but I can actually do that. So it's no. That's different. It applies to
Well,
everybody else but me.
and to a degree, yeah, as a guy, you do have a better chance at that at least.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, to a degree for a guy. Yeah, well, and then you go see how many of those pictures are edited too, which
Oh, of course. Yeah,
so
it's
much of
such
that is
nonsense.
edited where yeah, you
Such
see, I'm like, oh,
nonsense.
that's not real. That's not the way that really works.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But back on the being a woman aspect of it, I remember when Elise, after Lockwood, it was the first time that, first kid she had, when she, trying to bounce back and get to where she wanted to be. And the added effect of just like breastfeeding, she has to
Mm,
breastfeed, and
hmm
the calories that it takes to breastfeed is like, she just naturally went back to eating the way she ate before the baby.
Mm.
And it's like just, and like, it wasn't like thought out or like, I'm going to starve myself. It's like, no, this is how my eating habits have always been.
She had the habit
I'm
of,
going to
yeah.
keep on doing that. And then she's like, realizing like, I have to have more food. I have to
Right.
eat because it requires a certain amount of calories. And her body started like shutting down, like going into ketosis and like all these actual
bet.
problems. And then she's like, oh, I have to eat. It's like, even if you know what to do and you know what works, then like she still couldn't do that because like no,
Yeah.
she has to.
It was
eat more
inappropriate for
food.
that time, really.
Yeah, exactly. It was not a time where she could get to that point. Had to wait until the time was right, and then move on. Yeah, it's so tough. It's hard to watch because you can't help with it.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
It's like all right, you have to. That sucks. It sucks. You have no control over your body for that period.
Right. And
It's just-
you
it's
and I
just a-
both have such control issues around these things. Like,
Yeah.
oh, we'd
Oh,
make
yeah.
horrible women.
It'd be tough. It
Would
would be
not go
tough.
well.
No, would not go good at all.
Well, on that note,
Anyway,
I got to get running.
yeah.
Actually,
Me
So,
too.
it's a great way to wrap that up.
All right, man. Well, go get some more of your true classic T-shirts. Use a promo code RUN something or other, and
Right.
looking good right there. Because our little ad didn't work last time, so go use run recap promo 2029.
I think
stuff.
you got it right. It might be 28. I don't know. Try them both.
28,
See what
something like
happens.
that, yeah.
But yeah, we appreciate their sponsorship in
Yeah.
providing shirts for this at the same cost that everyone else pays.
Yes. It's
Yeah,
very
it's
generous of them
excellent.
to give us this this opportunity to promote them by buying their stuff.
And
That's
be
good.
great. I think we have a few more sponsorships coming online over the next couple weeks. So
Great.
be on the
Yeah,
lookout
it's
for
gonna-
that. We'll have promo codes for everything. And
Yes.
yeah, it's going to be
yes.
some exciting stuff coming now that we have gotten over 20 listeners.
Yes. You use promo code that you're on risk. We're not responsible for what happens.
Yeah. In no way affiliated or sponsored by the views expressed in this.